This is South Africa's sixth general election since the adoption of democracy. Official results are expected to be announced on Saturday. Lichtenstein is an expert on South African politics and professor of history at Indiana University. Welcome to our broadcast. Some are saying this is a vote that really tests Nelson Mandela's legacy 25 years after he led the ANC to power. Is that how you see it?
Well, in some ways, it's a really hopeful moment in that there have been 6 democratic elections in a row, 5 since Mandela was elected. So that's quite a good record of democracy. The ANC, of course, now has lost more votes in each of those subsequent elections. I think the last election in 2014, they had 62%. So I suppose it's a test for Mandela's party, the ANC, to see if they drop further or not.
Talk to me about the issues. I mean, land reform, corruption, the economy. We see huge numbers of unemployment. What seems to be the chief concerns of the voters, do you think?
I think the 2 main concerns are corruption, because the ANC over the past 10 years, really under Jacob Zuma, amassed a terrible record when it came to corruption, and then the economy with persistent 27% unemployment. So voters are looking for a change there. They face a dilemma because if they vote for the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, and he secures enough of a vote, that's a vote of confidence for him. If they punish the ANC electorally, that potentially weakens Ramaphosa within the party itself, and Zuma's old cronies then may be able to unseat him in the future. So it's difficult to know whether the ANC deserves a larger vote now that someone who claims to be able to clean house is going to try and do so, or whether they deserve to be chastened at the ballot box to show that voters have had enough of the corruption and the failure to move the economy forward that the ANC now has a reputation for.
So that's the dilemma facing voters. How do you think things will shake out?
Well, I think the ANC will probably drop a few percentage points from 62% in the last election to maybe 60 or 59%. I don't think there's going to be a dramatic change in the country. I think they'll still hold predominance in the national parliament. I think Ramaphosa will continue to try to clean house, and they'll move forward. Whether they can actually solve the deep economic problems is another large question. But I see this as really a continuation of Mandela's legacy, because it does show that democracy remains resilient in the country.
So, Alex, as someone who watches South Africa, what are you going to be looking for? I mean, hone in for us on this, if you will.
Well, there are two things I would look for. One would be whether the Economic Freedom Fighters, which is an opposition party that's really grown over the last 3 or 4 years, and claims at least to be a challenger to the ANC from the left, they certainly have more militant rhetoric, whether they gain significantly in the polls, and where. They then face the problem of having to do coalition governments locally with the Democratic Alliance, which is entirely on the opposite side of the political spectrum. But like a lot of people, I'll be looking to see if the EFF manages to capture previously ANC votes. And then I think the other thing that really is most significant will be voter turnout, particularly the so-called born frees. And I think that's going to be a striking change. In other words, I think the voter turnout is probably going to decline further, and I think the voter turnout for those people below the age of 30 or 35 who don't necessarily have any loyalty to the ANC, I think that's going to be very, very low, and that to me is a sign of trouble ahead if those people don't feel invested in the democratic dispensation that was won in 1994.
In what sense?
Well, in terms of apathy and not seeing a political party that speaks to them or the issues that matter to them, and I think that's a recipe, as we've discovered in the United States, for potential demagoguery from right or left, to have voters who do not feel committed to the system. And so younger voters, I think, in South Africa may be headed in that direction. That's certainly what I would look for, is voter turnout for the born frees.
Yeah, we'll have to keep our eye on. Alex, thanks so much for your insights.
Thank you very much.